Welcome to One-on-One with Walt Lascos. In this brief podcast, you'll learn how to most effectively address senior financial exploitation. Now, here's Walt.
Greetings, everyone. When it comes to financial scams and fraud, I'm of the opinion that we need to pursue every reasonable opportunity that presents itself as a valuable resource in our efforts to mitigate what these con artists appear to do without challenge, and that's persuade innocent folks to hand over their life savings. One of those opportunities is having a trust, a will, and a designated power of attorney. Let's talk about that today. Joining me is Mary Kate D'Souza. Mary Kate is Chief Legal Officer at Gentreo. Mary Kate, let's begin. Talk to us about Gentreo. What is it? How does it work?
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Walt. Gentreo is an online software solution in which an individual is able to create their own estate planning documents, such as the ones you just mentioned. We also offer a healthcare proxy and documents relating to pets. In addition to creating the documents, a differentiating feature of Gentreo, which is really important, is the ability to store and share these documents. So often people create documents, but then tuck them away so they're not easily accessible. So when the crisis hits, people that you've appointed to help you aren't able to because they don't know where the documents are. At Gentreo, not only do we want you to create these legal protections, but we also want you to be able to use them.
What was the driving force that fueled the creation of Gentreo?
Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting story, Walt. So there are four co-founders, and two of the co-founders are sisters, and they're our chief executive officer and our chief operations officer. And at the time, their parents, who had a modest estate, paid over $10,000 for their estate planning documents. And basically, the sisters did all the work, provided all the fill-in information for the attorneys. And being entrepreneurs and the CEO is a Harvard MBA, a business idea was born. She said, we can do this. And then at the same time, our chief technology officer, he was going through a similar challenge with his elderly parents. And then the last piece of the puzzle was me. And at the time, I had come off of a heavy year of intense litigation involving elder financial exploitation and other contested matters. And I was really burnt out, and they approached me with the idea saying, we need an attorney. Is this something you'd be interested in? And I looked at it, and I went home and talked to my husband, who jokes around that I married him for my own private 24/7 tech support. And he said, if you could create something that you could use yourself, you've got a winner. So that's how we all came to it. But we all feel passionately that this is basically part of your right as an American citizen, that you should be able to take these actions to protect your rights, your hard-earned assets, and by simply completing these forms that will benefit you. And unfortunately, like the uber wealthy, for the majority of them, they are savvy, they're plugged in, they have a lot of attorneys and financial planners, accountants, so they get taken care of. But then the rest are sort of left not being able to easily create these documents, and we wanted to make it more accessible.
And really more affordable, because when you talk about having to spend something like $10,000 to do the documentations, I mean, geez, it's nowhere like that when it comes to Gentreo. Mary Kate, explain to us just how easy is it to use Gentreo as a resource to complete the documents associated with establishing a trust or a will?
Sure. Well, it's super easy. It's basically a software program that allows you to just answer some simple questions and make your choices, and then the documents made available for you to review. And if you're satisfied with all the choices that you made, then you take it to get executed in accordance with the laws of your state to make sure that it would be acceptable. One of the things that I wanted to mention, when we were talking about Julie and Renee's experiences of their family paying $10,000 to the attorney, what everyone needs to be aware of is that is not a one-time fee. Most of us will alter these documents because things change in life. Unfortunately, there are deaths, but there are also births, there are marriages. Again, sadly, there are divorces, but then there are other ways families come together. And because of the fact that everyone's situation is constantly changing, you really need to be reviewing these documents and updating them, which is, again, another benefit of the Gentreo membership, that you're able to do that without incurring another huge fee. The annual membership is $50, which is, nothing in today's world.
Mary Kate, you mentioned Julie and Renee. Who are they?
Oh, I'm sorry. Renee Fry is the CEO and founder, and Julie Fry is her sister, the COO.
That's right. You referenced them earlier, and I just want to make sure that our listeners know who specifically they are. One of the things that's most important to me, and also to you too, Mary Kate, and as a matter of fact, all the folks at Gentreo, is efforts to keep elders safe from financial scams and fraud. I have a lot of issues with these con artists taking advantage of older folks. I would like to hear what your thoughts are about these documents and how they can serve as a protective barrier, so to speak. Let's say call them another layer in our firewall of scam and fraud prevention. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100% that it is another layer. The absolutely critical component is that when these documents are created, that they are given to someone who is above reproach, that is 100% trustworthy. Because unfortunately, sometimes these documents can be used against the person they're supposed to protect. Because why? Because the person, when they created them, did not choose wisely. They gave power and authority to someone, like maybe, often while we're still in sort of a patriarchal model wherein a mom will be like, well, he's the oldest son. Well, if the oldest son has an addiction or substance abuse problem, you do not want to put him in charge of your money. But yet sometimes for emotional and other reasons, people make bad choices like that. So we have a lot on our website, on blogs, giving information to help people be aware of these different situations so that when they choose someone to appoint as their attorney in fact or the holder of their power of attorney, they're really making the best choice. And to your point, when a good person is chosen, a prudential choice is made, it's a fabulous protection because that person can go on with the power of attorney, can set up online banking, can look at the account and monitor for any unusual transactions. If someone was a spendthrift and now all of a sudden these checks are going out to unknown people, it's a red flag. And what often happens with these scammers is they start small to see what they can get. And then once they've got, the fish on the line, so to speak, then they go in and take even more. So if someone could be looking at the account and catching it early and put a fraud alert, et cetera, these are all ways that the individual can be protected.
You make a very good point because the facts, the data supports it. The vast majority of scams committed against older adults are from someone they know, by someone they know. And that could be a family member, a grandchild, or even a son or daughter. Sad to say. It's sad to say that within the family, that's where it takes place. So your point about appointing someone and making a decision, let's say who's going to have power of attorney or be on the trust with you, or even associated with the will, to be very, very critical as to who you select. That you have to take your time with the utmost time spent to ensure that you're making a proper decision. Along those lines, Mary Kate, I take it that if you choose someone and a document is created the whole bit, and suddenly the older adult starts to see that, geez, maybe this person does have an alcohol problem or a drug problem, you can still go back in then and make revisions to your trust or to your will?
Yes. So what you can do is revoke you can revoke the power of attorney or the document that is empowering someone, and then you can create a new document empowering someone else. And what's important there is that notice is given to, so say you do your banking, your financial institution, and they have a copy of the old power of attorney. You need to make sure that they know that power of attorney's been revoked and you have a new power of attorney, whoever that is. So that's a very essential point. But as long as the person who's creating the documents has capacity, and what that means is that they have an understanding, a legal understanding of the ramifications of the decision they make. So you don't want someone with advanced dementia can't be creating new documents. That's
right.
Another level of financial exploitation. If someone's making someone do it when they don't have an understanding of it, that's taking advantage of them. But as long as someone has capacity, they can change it up as they want.
Exactly. And as again, I want to remind our listeners that Mary Kate D'Souza is the Chief Legal Officer at Gentreo. I mean, Mary Kate, you know what you're talking about from a legal perspective on this. And I think it's also fair to point out that on the Gentreo website itself, there are a lot of guidance, videos, instructional information that's there to help the person create the documents. Is that correct?
That is correct. In webinars, we have all sorts of information tools so that the user can educate themselves, and if they have any questions about, well, what does this document mean or that document mean, so they can learn and understand what these documents are, what they do, and make decisions accordingly.
Exactly. And finally, Mary Kate, for those wishing to learn more about Gentreo, where should they turn?
Gentreo.com, Gentreo.com.
Perfect. Mary Kate, thank you for joining me today and shedding light on how having a trust and a will can further safeguard us from financial scams. And, of course, how Gentreo makes it easy for anyone to secure those documents at really an affordable cost and an easy-to-do process to make it all happen. Thank you for being with us today, Mary Kate.
Thank you so much for having me, Walt.
And thank you all, too, for listening. Stay safe.
If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow One-on-One with Walt Laskos wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to send comments to walt@laskoscommunications.com. And to learn more about how you might support the prevention of elder financial scams, visit laskoscommunications.com.